Yo, welcome back to the MMA Fight Realm. Thanks for tuning in. If you are new, it is your boy Chris, and I'm back with another picks and predictions video. This time for UFC Vegas 92, Edson Barboza taking on Lerone Murphy in the main event. Hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of these picks in the comments, and let me know your picks in the comments as well. Let's break it down, man. Leading off the card, we got Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Emily Ducote, and not a crazy fight. Not a fight I'm looking forward to here. You know, Emily Ducote, 2-2 in the UFC. She's had an up and down career, and she's taking on Vanessa Demopoulos, who's also had an up and down career in the UFC. And Emily, she got it done against Ashley Yoder in her last one, whose record going into that fight was 8-8. All right, and her other win in the UFC is over 39-year-old Jessica Penne. So, man, and then she's got two losses to Angela Hill and Lupi Godinez, two girls in the top 15. It's kind of been hard to gauge the potential of Emily Ducote because she's taken on cans and then she's taken on top 15 talent. So, you know, but she doesn't have power to change the outcome of a fight. She has good striking, a lot of volume. She lands a lot of strikes per minute, decent takedown defense. And she's taking on a grappler this time. She's taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. She is a grappler. She tries to get the fight to the ground every time in all of her fights. Hasn't had the best accuracy at that. She's got a 13% takedown accuracy after 5 fights recorded in the UFC. And in her last one, I was very surprised to see her hand get raised against Kanako Murata because she got taken down for 5 times, controlled for 10 minutes. And outstruck, yet she won. Very confused there as to how she got her hand raised, but you know, it is what it is. I think she just got very lucky. Her striking is very low volume, and it's also not powerful enough to change the outcome of a fight. So I think this fight goes over, and I think we see a decision win for either one of these two. But I don't think that, you know, I think the stats don't support Vanessa getting this fight to the ground, and that's her best chance in this fight. Emily Ducote, she's got decent takedown defense, and if it stays standing, I think she will have the higher output than Vanessa. So give me Emily Ducote to get this one done by decision. I think she will just outstrike Vanessa Demopoulos, keep the fight standing, and win this one on damage by decision. Emily Ducote is the pick. Next fight, we got Alatengheili taking on Kleydson Rodriguez. Both fighters coming off a loss. Alatengheili, he lives up to the name the Mongolian Knight. That's for sure. I think he does. You know, he's only 4-3 in the UFC, but the guy makes it a war every time. He can take a punch, man. In that fight against Casey Kennedy, he ate several body kicks and just kept smiling back at Casey Kennedy, calling for the fight, wanting to just keep going forward, and he just never looked out of it in that fight. And the guy he's very well rounded. He's always been tough to take down. He's got a 72% takedown defense, and he's even got great grappling himself, but the guy just doesn't use it that much. And he used it a lot more in the regionals, but has not used it much in the UFC. He will look to set up his right hand, which can be fight ending when it lands sometimes, and because of that, he's had a very low output in his fights. He kind of spams that right hand a little bit too much. He's never had more than 50 significant strikes in a fight in the UFC yet. And, you know, in his last one against Chris Gutierrez was just on his bike in that fight. He kept the fight at his distance, landed calf kicks, and just managed the range, and just was able to outpoint Alatengheili in that one. Kleydson is the kind of fighter who will look to push the pace, and I think these two are going to meet in the middle. In Klaydson's last fight, it only took 2 takedowns for Farid Basharat to find that arm triangle in the first round, and that was Klaydson's debut at 135. He had previously missed weight twice down at flyweight, and in his knockout win over Shannon Ross, not a win I will highlight much, he was able to blitz Ross into the cage and land some hard body shots to end the fight quickly. I don't think, you know, like I said, Alatengheili, very durable, You know, Kleydson, he showed his quickness in that fight. He's got great durability himself. He's only been submitted once, but he's never been knocked out. And against CJ Vergara in his debut, he earned himself a split decision win, but he almost got finished in that fight. He almost got finished a couple of times in that fight. He had to show a lot of grit in the second round. I believe CJ Vergara had top mount and just was landing ground and pound strikes. So that was down at flyweight. And then Shannon Ross, you know, that win over Shannon Ross, he's not durable. Shannon Ross has been finished by everyone in the UFC. Let's not rate that win much. And then he gets smoked in 45 seconds against Farid Basharat. So, you know, I think Alatengheili, I think he gets this one done, man. Kleydson will be happy to trade with Alatengheili, and Kleydson has shown that he's not as durable as Alatengheili. I think if Alateng gets hurt, he can get a takedown. And I've seen Vergara, who's a flyweight, get full mount on Kleydson Rodriguez. Alatengheili, who's sneaky good at grappling, I think he should be able to control Kleydson if he does get the takedown, if he is hurt. But I think this fight stays standing, and Alatengheili, he can land a big shot and finished Kleydson Rodriguez on the feet as well. You know, honestly, this is one of those fights where I think Alatengheili gets it done. Give me the dog. Give me the dog in this one. Alatengheili by finish in this fight. Kleydson, I'm just not impressed with what he's done in the UFC yet. And moving up to bantamweight, taking on a guy who's decently proven, you know. I'll go with Alatengheili in this fight. Next up, we got Piera Rodriguez taking on Ariane Carnelossi. Carnelossi has been away for 2 years, and now she's taking this fight on short notice. She got exposed badly in her last one against Lupi Godinez, and now I know that was Lupi, but Lupi was able to take her down 8 times, and Lupi controlled her for 13 minutes and 26 seconds. Lupi was 8 for 8 on takedowns. She didn't fail one. Ariane had no answer for how to defend it, and she had no answer for what to do off her back. So I think just speaking on what I've said there alone, you know, you guys know which way I'm leaning here. But, you know, I'll also mention she's got an 8% takedown defense. That's one of the lowest I've ever seen. She's always had this crazy physique, but you know, with wins over fighters who aren't in the UFC and the long layoff, it's hard for me to see a chance for her to win this fight. All Piera Rodriguez does is grapple, guys. It's what costs her against Jillian Robertson. You know, Jillian has the most submission wins, so it's not a girl you want to grapple with. But Piera, she decided when Jillian Robertson pulled guard, she decided she can grapple with her, and she gets caught in that armbar. And that's Piera's only loss. So, you know, she got it done against Sam Hughes, Kay Hansen, and Valeska Machado. And in all of those wins, she's gotten them all down. So 1 year layoff for herself, but she has been preparing for a much more proven opponent, I think, in Cynthia Calvillo. And then Calvillo missed weight, and that's why Carnelossi is stepping in here. But I think this is Piera's fight to lose, man. I don't like the layoff for Ariane, and she's got one of the worst takedown defense percentages I've ever seen. Give me Piera Rodriguez to get this one done by decision, just by controlling Ariane and landing strikes on top mount or on top control, and just getting this one done by decision. Give me Piera Rodriguez. Next fight, Warlley Alves taking on Abus Magomedov. Now, I don't think Warlley Alves should be fighting at middleweight. I'll say that. That's how I want to start this off, because I'm just not sure how serious this guy takes fighting. He hasn't gotten a win in 3 years, and you know, it says split decision loss to Nicholas Dalby, but watching that fight back, I thought it was a clear decision win for Dalby in that one. I thought he won the 2 rounds to 3 in that, and you know, he outstruck him 119 significant strikes to 66, and it's just hard to pick him to win here. No, hasn't won in 3 years, and he's taking short notice fights with Ikram Aliskerov, and now he's taking another fight up at 185 against Abus Magomedov. I don't know how serious this guy takes fighting, man. He's got a kill or be killed style, and I think Abus is going to be much more technical. With the height and reach difference that Abus has, I think Abus can piece Warlley up from the outside. Abus is a great striker. I still remember the first round he had over Sean Strickland, but it wasn't something he can replicate because of the cardio. And he tried to fight at a slower pace against Khaos, but I think in this one it's going to suit him to fight the way he's used to fighting, which is going for that knockout. And Abus only losses to Khaos and Sean Strickland, who are in the top 15. Clearly, those guys are taking fighting a lot more serious than Warlley. And Abus, I think he's going to be the better striker here. Much more experienced in terms of fights. I think he's a lot more technical. I say this is the bounce back fight for Abus Magomedov. Give me Abus Magomedov to get this one done, either by finish or decision. Next fight, we got Melissa Gatto taking on Tamires Vidal. Melissa Gatto stepping up on short notice, but we got to remember she was due to fight Victoria Dudakova back on March 30th, but Dudakova pulled out of the fight on fight night. So it was one of those weird situations for us fans and her, because she was ready to go on fight day, and Dudakova pulled out on the day of the fight. So, she was due to fight, but it never happened, and now she gets to step in for Haley Cohen, who pulled out of Tamires Vidal's fight. And this one will be up a weight class, up at bantamweight. Gatto has looked great in the UFC. Despite being 2-2, she's only lost to Tracy Cortez and Ariane Lipski, which are also in the top 15 of her weight class. Nothing to be ashamed about. And she's got great striking. She pushes the pace, forces her opponents on the back foot. She's even got better grappling, in my opinion. And she was able to take Tracy Cortez down 3 times and had her in an armbar. Tracy got out of it and was able to, scrap all the she was able to make it a scrap all the way to the judges' scorecards. But Tracy, she's got a 75% takedown defense, and Gatto was able to get her down several times. Tamires Vidal has a 40% takedown defense. I think the blueprint is clear for Gatto here. Although this is a weight class up, maybe that will play a factor. But I think the path to victory here is for Gatto to get Vidal down and just control her. Vidal 1-1 in the UFC, and the win was over 6-5 Ramona Pascual, who is 0-3 in the UFC. And so she beat someone who didn't really belong in the UFC, and I can't hold much weight to that. So she's got decent striking, she's got good leg kicks. The takedown defense is terrible. And going up against Gatto, who's fought the tougher competition, I don't think Vidal will have what it takes to keep this fight standing. And even if it does, I think Gatto coming up from flyweight, she'll be the much faster striker. I think she's got good volume. I don't expect this fight to be close. I think Melissa Gatto wins this one 30-27 by either by late finish, or she wins it 30-27 by decision. So give me Melissa Gatto in this fight to get it done, man. Next up, we got Oumar Sy taking on Antonio Trocoli. Now, debut for both of these two, but Trocoli, we did see him on Contender Series about 2 years, more than 2 years ago. And, he's famous for having that first round submission win on Contender Series overturned because he failed a performance enhancing drug test. And coincidentally, now that USADA is gone, he's back taking this fight on short notice against Oumar Sy. And even when he was on the juice, this guy was going to decision with guys who have a record of 2-6 back in the regionals. And from the tape that is available, you can see that he is well-rounded, decent kickboxing, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. We really don't know what we're gonna get out of him because of this layoff and coming off the steroids, but or is he still on them? We don't know. But 16 fights, he's 12-3-1, only been knocked out once, and his other losses are by decision. So I'll say he looks durable on paper, and he's got more experience than his opponent, Oumar Sy. Oumar Sy is just 9-0 with 7 wins by finish. 2 of his most recent wins over former UFC guys, and he got them both to the ground and out in the first round. So, you know, this guy is a savage. He's a great wrestler. He's also got good striking as well. He's got a highlight reel head kick knockout in the regional scene. And, you know, the weakness, I have yet to see the weaknesses on this guy. He's yet to get exposed, and he's coming off a fight just 10 months ago compared to Antonio, who hasn't fought in over 2 years. And Antonio's taking this one on short notice against Oumar, because Oumar was set to face Rodolfo Bellato, but Bellato pulled out. There's a lot of unanswered questions going into this fight, and hopefully we get some answers, you know. But I'm gonna be picking Oumar Sy to get this one done. I don't like picking fighters off long layoffs. Oumar is young, undefeated, he's hungry. He's gone to decision twice, so I'm not worried about his cardio. I think he gets this one done, man. Oumar should be able to avoid the submissions and pressure Antonio on the feet. If he stays on the outside, Antonio will blast him with kicks, but I expect Oumar to counter that by, you know, catching those kicks and taking him down. Close fight. I think it'll be a close fight because, you know, we just don't know much of these two. So I'm going with Oumar by decision. Next fight, we got Tom Nolan taking on Victor Martinez. Tom Nolan is the pick here. All right. The size difference is going to be massive here. Martinez has no submission wins, and the guy got finished standing against Jordan Levitt. All right. Got finished in the striking against Jordan Levitt. Levitt was able to put the pressure on him, land a knee that dropped Martinez, and that was the end of it. And his Contender Series fight, he was at a height and reach disadvantage against a grappler, and it went to decision because he struggled with the range. You know, he got dropped late in the first and was able to survive. Now he's going to be taking on a 6'3" lightweight Tom Nolan. I know Tom Nolan failed to get it done in his debut. I picked him to win, but I'm not ready to write this guy off, man. I think he doesn't have a lot of fight experience, but he's shown potential. He has shown potential. First round finish in his Contender Series fight, where his opponent was at the exact same height and reach that Martinez will be. So he used his range really well in that fight. Front kicks up the middle and a clean lead jab. His straight left was fast, and he only needed to land it twice before it was all she wrote in his Contender Series fight. So, you know, I like what I've seen out of him in the regional scene. Give me Tom Nolan to win this one by finish. Just earn himself a bounce back performance over Victor Martinez, and I think, you know, I'm just not ready to write Tom Nolan off yet. I think he bounces back in this one. Next fight, we got Angela Hill taking on Luana Pinheiro. Hill coming off a upset win over Denise Gomes, where she just outclassed Denise Gomes in that fight, man. She took down Denise 5 times and outstruck her. She made it clear that although the age is not on her side, you know, she's still a problem for this weight class. Very well-rounded. She's very durable. She's never been knocked out and only been submitted twice. And Luana, you know, she's a headhunter. It's clear she's going to want to keep this standing for Luana Pinheiro. Luana proved in her last one against Ribas that she doesn't have the cardio to execute her game plan for 3 rounds. You know, she's well-rounded and constant forward pressure, but she throws everything with 100%. And, you know, when you throw everything with bad intentions, it's going to drain your cardio. And you're taking on a girl like Angela Hill, where you got to be ready for the full 15 minutes when you're taking on Angela Hill, because she is going to take advantage of that. And I see her doing that here. I think Angela Hill is going to have a tough round 1, but I say she wins rounds 2 and 3 like she's been doing. You know, she definitely goes to decision often in her career, and it's unfortunate, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm going with Angela Hill to get this one done with another tough fight for her. Her fights always look close, man, but I think Angela Hill gets this one done. Luana is going to struggle with the volume of Hill, and I think Hill takes it by decision. Next fight, we got Adrian Yanez taking on Vinicius Salvador. This is a bounce back fight for Yanez. He's taken on Vinicius, he's been at flyweight all his UFC career. You know, he missed weight twice. I mean, no, he missed weight in his last one against Vergara. So he's now made the decision to move up. And, you know, he just hasn't really looked good in the UFC. He has good athleticism, but he's wild. He's wild on the feet, and he's a showboat. In this fight with Vergara, the first 2 rounds looked like a sparring match for the most part. And you know, Salvador, he never maintained cage control. He got outstruck by Vergara, and it led to a decision loss. He doesn't have the fight IQ to make adjustments during the fight in order to win him minutes. And I think that's going to cost him against a guy like Yanez, whose only losses are to the top 15, man. We're talking about Rob Font and Jonathan Martinez. Those are his only losses, dude. 4 knockouts out of his 5 wins in the UFC. Adrian Yanez is a great boxer, great takedown defense. I think this is a big step down in competition for him. I'm picking Yanez here by finish. I think he gets it done early. Round 1 or round 2 for Adrian Yanez. That's the pick. Next fight, we got Themba Gorimbo taking on Ramiz Brahimaj. Now, long layoff for Ramiz, 2-year layoff, and the wins did not age well while he's been out. He hasn't beaten anyone still in the UFC, and the losses are to Court McGee and Max Griffin, 2 veterans of the sport who are able to just outpoint Ramiz, man. He's a great grappler, 10 wins, 10 submissions. So 100% finish rate, and it's all been on the ground. And when he's fought Max and Court, he just wasn't able to do that. Wasn't able to get those fights to the ground. McGee, he showed great takedown defense. And when it stayed standing, Ramiz's striking wasn't effective. It was not effective or power ending. He didn't have like any power ending punches. Really just wasn't powerful in there. And with the layoff, I mean, you gotta assume he has been working on his stand-up, but now taking on a guy who's been on a roll in his last 2. Themba Gorimbo, he got it done by knockout over Pete Rodriguez in his last one, and he made it look like Pete Rodriguez did not belong there at all. And it was as if Pete didn't stand a chance. You know, I know Pete took it on short notice, I believe, but he's shown a completely different version of himself. I think Themba Gorimbo, the version of him that made his debut in the UFC against AJ Fletcher, you know, he was forcing the grappling and he was getting reversed easily by Fletcher, and then Fletcher was able to take advantage of his fight IQ, and Themba looked like he gassed out in there, and Fletcher submitted him. I thought that was a very bad performance out of Themba, and then he comes out in his next fight and he works a decision win, uses a lot of grappling, and he's got 2 knockout wins, but he's definitely more of a grappler himself. I just think that, you know, this fight is gonna tell us how much Gorimbo's grappling and striking, how much he is well-rounded in this fight, because Ramiz is not a guy you want to grapple with. 10 wins, 10 submission finishes, and you know, although it is a long layoff for him, we gotta imagine that he will be the better grappler, in my opinion, of this fight. He's got the size advantage because, you know, Themba, he is lengthy for the weight class, but in terms of strength, I think Ramiz will have the physicality advantage of the 2. And you know, these 2 are phenomenal grapplers, but I'm expecting Themba to look to keep this fight standing, because I think that's where he will have the advantage. He's got the height and reach advantage in this fight, not by much, but you know, I just know that phenomenal grappler. Ramiz is a phenomenal grappler, and he's not a guy you want to grapple with. So I think, man, I'm going back and forth on this pick while I'm making this video, but I'm going with Themba. I'm going with Themba by knockout. I think Themba has looked good in the UFC, and I think he will keep going with the momentum that he's built. And Ramiz, long layoff, it's just hard for me to pick these fighters off long layoffs, and although he does have good grappling, he can maybe control Themba for 2 out of 3 rounds. Themba is well experienced in the grappling himself, so one way to win for Ramiz and more ways to win for Themba, in my opinion. So give me Themba to get this one done, either by knockout or decision on damage. Next fight, we got Khaos Williams taking on Carlston Harris. Another tough fight here. It's been hard to gauge Khaos's potential because, you know, he's going to split with Rolando Bedoya, but then he has knockouts over Alex Morono. So, like, I mean, the only losses are to Randy Brown by split, where he got a knockdown late in that fight, and then a unanimous decision loss to Michel Pereira. So, you know, he's a good striker, knockout power, and although he's got an 80% takedown defense, he hasn't faced any grapplers that are like Carlston Harris. You know, Harris, he's coming off a submission win over Jeremiah Wells, and Wells was beating Harris in that fight for the most part until Wells started to fatigue and Harris locked in that anaconda choke. Harris can strike as well, but I give the advantage to Khaos in that department. I think Harris, his striking is not as technical, and when he's the aggressor, he throws wild. He throws with bad intentions, and he hasn't had any cardio issues as of late. I think he will look to test Khaos in the grappling though. He pushes a good pace. I think Harris takes this one. Harris is a great grappler. He's got good durability. Wells was landing fight-ending shots in that fight on him, and Harris was still there. He stood with him, and I'm only worried about Harris being 36 years old in this fight, and how durable he's gonna be as the age goes up for him. But you know, I just know Khaos has not taken on a guy with this level of submission threat, and Carlston Harris finds a way to get it done in majority of his fights. His only loss is to Shavkat Rakhmonov, who we all know is a savage. So, man, give me Carlston Harris to get this one done. Upset Khaos Williams, another dog in this card. Next fight, Edson Barboza taking on Lerone Murphy. Really good fight here. Murphy has been on a run in the UFC ever since his draw in his debut. He's been on a 5-fight win streak, and in those fights, he's taken on guys who are well-rounded and have tried to really test him in all aspects of MMA. You know, Ricardo Ramos was a tricky opponent because of the BJJ threat, and you know, Murphy even got his back taken in that fight, but he didn't panic, worked it out, and won the fight by ground and pound finish. So another fight, Amirkhan Amirkani, he ragdolled Murphy in that first round, but Murphy again, he just didn't panic, comes back in the second and catches Amirkani with a knee as Amirkani was going for a takedown. Another finish for Murphy, man. This guy is crafty. He can grapple, he can strike. No cardio issues in these 3-round fights, but this is going to be his first main event. But he's got good fight IQ and durability as well. I mean, this is by far his toughest fight in his life, and he's taking on Edson Barboza. But Barboza is going to look to keep this one standing. Barboza, obviously, you know, he's never shied away from a challenge. He's won 3 of his last fights, and in his last one, he took a beating early by Sadiq Youssef, but he was able to come back. He looked beat up by the end of that fight, man. He looked like he had been through a war, and he looked worse than Sadiq, honestly. And that's not the first or second or third war that Edson has been through. So, you know, experience is great to have, but when you've got this much mileage, it comes with hard fought battles, and I wonder if this time it's gonna finally catch up to Edson, man. You know, he's been dropped a bunch in his fights. Murphy can trade in the pocket with Edson, and he fights well from both stances. He can check leg kicks. This is a huge fight for Murphy, but it's a winnable one. And you know, his closest fight was against Gabriel Santos, and credit to Santos for his game plan. He attempted 11 takedowns on Murphy, and he was able to land 5 of them. And he was able to control Murphy for 4 minutes, but Murphy outstruck him, and Murphy worked his way out of every grappling transition. So when's the last time you've seen Edson Barboza shoot 11 takedowns, you know, and mix up the fight that much? You know, I say this fight stays standing, And that favors both of these guys in their own way. I think Edson will be the more technical fighter. And, you know, Lerone will be looking to never let Edson build a rhythm and force him on the back foot. I thought Giga did a great job of that against Edson Barboza. And, you know, before getting the finish over Edson in that third round, he was up 2 rounds on all judges' scorecards because he was forcing Edson on the back foot, never let him build the rhythm. And it's because of that, I think Lerone, if he stays aggressive at a certain pace and he doesn't gas out, I think he wins this fight. I think he wins 3 out of 5 rounds if it goes to decision. I'm not super confident in this pick because, you know, Lerone only 14 fights and a lot of experience for Edson Barboza, much more technical striker. But I think Lerone Murphy gets this one done. This is a winnable fight for him, and he's shown great durability. He's shown a lot of improvement since his debut. Give me Lerone Murphy to get this one done by decision or by finish. And there you guys have it. Those are all the picks for UFC Vegas 92. Hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of these picks in the comments. I'm out of here. Peace.